stories about Nigeria, Nigeria's tribes, and crime. We bring you this story because time after time, especially recently, you hear stories about Igbos and crime in Nigeria. In the stereotypes, if you're innocent looking in from the outside, you're going to wonder what's wrong with these Igbos. These Igbos must be terrible people to associate with. How could people be so criminally minded? And on and on and on. This story is not to dispute the fact that some Igbos may be involved in criminal activities. That's not what I'm trying to tell you. This story is about telling the world that criminal activities in Nigeria is not limited to one tribe. But I also want to amplify the fact that there may be some tribes where criminal activity is not something that is mainly done by struggling people trying to make ends meet. Criminal activities among people in this tribe commonly comes from the highest levels of the society, now making it very, very fashionable for the struggling ones to get involved in similar activities, be it drug dealing or thuggery. I want you to listen me out. I have no tribal agenda, and I clearly state that Igbos have criminal elements among them. But I refuse to sit back and have the bigots of Nigeria paint an entire tribe of Igbos as the ones who are responsible for crime in Nigeria. Kick back, relax. It's a long episode. If you don't watch it to the end, you're not hurting me. You're hurting yourself. Because this is a story about history, about the history of Nigeria and crime-minded elite Nigerians.
So Saudi Arabia released a list of Nigerians on death row for drug trafficking, and guess what? Not a single Emeka, Chinedu, or Ifani is on the list. Yes, my darling, not one single Igbo name. Yet the streets are dead silent. Nobody is shouting. No media frenzy. No loud condemnation. Why? Because the names on the list don't fit the usual narrative they love to push. Check out the names now. They are all Yorubas. Hold on. Let me read it out. So let's go. Jimo Idahola Lawal. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing the name well. I'm not Yoruba. Lolo Babatunde. Suleiman Tunde. Idris Adewumi Adepoju, Abdul Raimi Awale Ajibola, Yusuf Makin Ajiboye, Adam Idris Abubakar, Saka Zakaria, Biola Lawal. Are you hearing? Good. Isa Abubakar Adam, Ibrahim Shiroma, Hafiz Amosu, Aliyu Muhammad, Fumilayo Omoyemi Bishi, Mistura Yekini. All Yorubas. If na Igbo names full the list now, everywhere for don't catch fire. Blogs go the wrong word. Headlines go they scream, Igbo again, Igbo again. On everywhere. Social media warriors would have started another round of tribal dragging. Igbo and everywhere. They would be dragging us like I passed my neighbor generator. But now everybody is pretending, everyone is pretending not to see. I don't go. We know what you guys are doing. But let's be real. Some people know what they are doing. Oh. They've spent years branding Igbo people as the face of drug crimes, when in reality, an average Igbo man is hustling legit, building businesses from scratch, and making waves globally with legit sweats. But when the real drug barons surface from other regions, they suddenly lose voice. Selective outrage, Abi. Go and see the names for yourself. Those facing execution aren't Igbos, oh, yet no one is raising alarm. The hypocrisy is shocking. If you must fight crime, Fight it honestly. Don't choose your silence based on tribe.
Hello, everybody. Once again, this is Fred Wankwo coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Island TV. And as usual, I like to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on where you are around the world. First of all, let's go step by step with what the lady said before me. Disclaimer. The list she showed of Nigerian drug traffickers being held to be executed in Saudi Arabia was not exclusively Yoruba. It was not exclusively from one tribe. So let me give that disclaimer. She generalized a little, but a majority of them were Yorubas, which is the bane of my discussion today. Because when you people hear me keep hounding on the fact that Bayo Nonuga and his co-conspirators of bootleg journalists whose mission in Nigeria from the 70s till the social media explosion that created counters like me countering what they're saying. Their mission was to destroy the reputation of Igbos in Nigeria. I could take that to the bank and stand by it, and if you could prove me wrong, bring it on. And what you find is that all over social media, until we started countering, you had the Bayon Onuga forces painting a narrative that crime activities in Nigeria is mainly perpetuated by Igbos. And if Nigeria could just get rid of Igbos, everything will be hunky-dory in Nigeria, and Nigeria's international reputation would be revived because Igbos are no longer part of Nigeria, to give Nigeria this bad reputation of criminal activities around the world. Another disclaimer. I'm not here to say that Igbos are not involved in criminal activities around the world. They are. Igbos are involved in drug dealing around the world. Igbos are involved in all the things they get picked up for. However, the percentage of Igbos that are involved in criminal activities anywhere, be it in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, is no more than any other significant Nigerian tribe that goes into those activities. It depends on which activities. Igbos are no more involved in drug activities around the world than Yorubas or Edos by percentages of the population. Igbos are no more involved in financial crimes activities than Yorubas and Edos around the world. Why do I say Yorubas and Edos? Because Yorubas and Edos are the main ones who get into this, Igbo that. We know about the Fulani, but I keep insisting the Fulani activities is starting to manifest not to be about them against Igbos, it's them against trying to Ismailize Nigeria. They saw Igbos initially as their main obstacle, and having marginalized Igbos, they are now taking it across the country. So I bring you this. The lady's list was not clear. So I want to show you my own list based on clarity so you could read all the names of the 23 people that were indicted in Saudi Arabia in 2019. That's the latest indictment. There may be new ones coming out. They haven't been executed, and they are still awaiting execution in Saudi Arabia. If they have been executed, it was in the last year, 2024 to 2025. The list shows you that there is not a single Igbo name there. It doesn't mean that if you go to Taiwan and places like that, that you're not going to find a list that represents more Igbos than the rest of the country. It depends on where the traffic goes for the different crimes. But when it comes to these crimes, everybody is involved. What's my message about today? My message is to say that for young people who are the ones being brainwashed, because this social media targeting is targeting what the older ones know is a lie, but the younger ones are learning it as the gospel truth. It's not the gospel truth. My message today: crime needs to stop amongst Nigerians, be them Igbo, Yoruba, or Hausa. Crime in Nigeria is not overwhelmingly represented by Igbos. Criminal activities in Nigeria is by Nigerians, by all Nigerians, and should be fought by Nigeria against all Nigerians and not targeted among one people. But most importantly, my main message here is that any good thing you find Igbos doing in Nigeria, any other Nigerian can do the same, given the same opportunities, given the same oppressive conditions. The reason Igbos do many of these things better than most Nigerians is that most Nigerians have advantages against Igbos when it comes to the government allocation of resources. Igbos, when their backs are against the wall, have nothing else to do but to excel, and that's why they excel. So anything good Igbos can do in Nigeria, other Nigerians can do under the same circumstances. Any bad thing Igbos do in Nigeria, all other Nigerians do the same. We come from the same background. We have the same corrupt leaders. We observe the same corrupt leaders. We observe the same corrupt leaders get filthily wealthy, and we pick up those values as kids. And as we're growing up, we're looking forward to the time when it's going to be our turn to become as criminally minded, as corruptly minded as the role models we have ahead of us. It's not limited to Igbos. Anybody who says it's an Igbo thing has an agenda against Igbo. We go through the same schools, we have the same teachers, we have the same prejudices at home from our parents who brainwash us. When we come into society, we act alike. Now it depends on which neighborhood do people come from, which backgrounds do people come from, which people do people associate with mainly. It brings the fact that you show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. But in terms of activities of Nigerians, we're all the same. It needs to be equally curtailed by the government bringing in resources that it takes to change people's way of thinking. But to conclude my video today, I want you to see a video from Mayegun where he talks about MK Abiola, and Fela Kuti also talks about MK Abiola. I say that because when it comes to drugs, social media and Bayo Ononuga's campaign through the years has tried to paint Igbos as the ones who are involved in drugs. A lot of times when you see Igbos who are involved in drugs, they don't come from the best Igbo backgrounds. And they're also mainly people hustling to make their lives better, not established Igbos. You're not going to hear Nnamdi Azikiwe's name associated with drugs. You're not going to hear Ojukwu's name associated with drugs. You're not going to hear Arthur Eze's name or Emeka Ofor's name or Peter Obi's name or Iwu Anyanwu's name. Those kind of people, you're not going to hear them associated with drugs. Now fast forward to Yoruba land. Not only do you have hustling Yorubas associated with drugs, but the two out of the three most significant names that have surfaced in Yoruba land on a national level over the last 35 years in Nigeria, MK Abiola, Olusegun Obasanjo, and Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The only one who has no association with drugs is Olusegun Obasanjo. MK Abiola's name is remotely connected to drugs, unproven, but heavily connected to the crime activities that destroyed Nigeria and left us where we are today. But he's been given the face of the man who is the face of democracy in Nigeria. What a shame. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who stole the election, is now the main name in politics in Nigeria, has buildings and airports being named after him in Nigeria. But around the world, he's known as a drug kingpin. This is food for thought for Bayo Ononuga and all the bigots in Nigeria who say that Nigeria's problem with crime is about Igbos, and take away Igbos, Nigeria is a perfect country. The two main men you worship in politics, because many Yorubas don't like Obasanjo, because some say he's Igbo, and some feel that he fights the Nigerian cause and not the Yoruba cause. So the two main Yorubas that Yorubas universally revolve around, Bola Ahmed Tinubu and MK Abiola, have their names tainted in criminal activities, but whitewashed by Bayo Ononuga and his school of journalism, of distorted journalism. Let's listen to Mayegun.
I have been seeing the Robodion going up and down when it comes to, talking about the David Undenyi's interview. I'm not going to replay the interview because, it was like a chat about so many things. But it has sort of triggered conversation around, was MKO Abiola a criminal? But it is not just those who ruled Nigeria, ruined Nigeria. But there is something about Nigeria that me as a young man, I was raised to believe that MKO Abiola is a hero. Every piece of information out there was all good about Abiola when I was growing up. He was a philanthropist. MKO Abiola's story resonates with a lot of people who come from humble backgrounds. Those were good things back then. Nobody knew that he was actually distributing his own share of his own share of the largesse of them destroying Nigeria, MKO Abiola. So, but the difference was that MKO Abiola was such a cheerful giver that it's going to be so hard for you to hate him. But what were the stories we were not told about MKO Abiola? His contribution to the destruction of Nigeria, the hero of democracy, and that one we were not told. You would have to read about that. And there were so many people that have found out, but they are like, all those things are inconsequential, Jare. Leave that one. Let's talk about the good things. I don't think Sheun feels same. Now, this is somebody who is the son of a direct victim of what MKO Abiola, his wife, represented out of his role in paying and sponsoring coups, right? He sponsored coups, he sponsored politicians. That was how much he has so much money. It's not like all these politicians of today. They were burying money. He didn't run for office, but it was like a big money bag behind them that way, right? Anyway, so the mystery around his wealth is no longer mystery. Okay? It's no longer mystery anymore. However, some people just feel like, the man is dead, just forget it and move on. I don't think. Yeah, he's dead. People have moved on. But that is why we are saying that in life, try and do good thing. I'm not saying be a criminal that is hiding behind philanthropy. I'm a philanthropist or whatever, right? Actually do right thing so that we will not have to come and lie at your burial, okay? Sheun has this experience of his own father in the hands of MK. I don't know if you have seen this. Sheun.
Son, coughing for head of state. I'll give you story number 2. Abiola and a wife, Simbiat. They go live for Fela head. See, I'm telling you, these are serious things will happen to Fela. But his mama died. Now they go live for head. Simbiat go talk, say, Fela and him boys robbed her of a Ferrari. Say Fela carry him boys at gunpoint and robbed her of a Ferrari. Under Idi Agbon regime that time, this was Abiola and his wife's plan to kill my dad. Oh, because under Idi Agbon that time, armed robbery was punishable by death. No story, you are being killed. Simbiat Abiola and her husband, they put statement for police station. Oh, I say she see Fela and a gang. Fela and his gang robbed her at gunpoint. And so they arrest Fela for armed robbery, punishable under death. But luckily for Fela, he was performing in Cameroon the day Simbiat was lying that she was getting robbed by his gang. That's how Fela was able to escape that case. Because he can't be in two places at the same time. He's either on stage in Cameroon or he's robbing in Lagos. Which is it? So now see what Abiola do. Now no Fela reply. That time we see they build this our house for Gwemisola. Fela never get house that time. He didn't stay one in frame flat. He just come back from jail. You see they stay in frame flat. You know, he never go jail that time. Sir. You know, he never go. But he didn't have money. They don't burn Fela house that time. It was after the burning of his house, seizing of all his property, everything. Fela was back on Square Zero, living with his friend. This story happened. Now, Fela can go that our house where we build that time, the foundation 9 CD. Can go the soccer away for the area, go pack sheets. I kid you not. If this are the lie, go and ask my senior brother, Bra Febi. Fela drag them along on this mission. So they go pack sheets, bucket and bucket of sheets. 12 buckets of sheets, in fact, exactly 12 buckets. Go and listen to the Fela song, give me shit, I give you shit. 12 buckets pail full of shit. Now my papa carry, they load inside down for bus, inside pickup. Fela get one pickup that time. Then they go Abiola house for night. With the 12 buckets. What if Fela won't do Abiola pass that one now? Pack 12 buckets of shit. Fela say, Bra Femi self fall inside shit that day because as they escape, shit don't full everywhere. Say the ship drop. Inside. Say Fela they leave and they go inside the truck. He got stand up, go pursue the truck.
So now you've heard about Nigeria's Mr. Democracy and how he's willing to frame an innocent person to get rid of him, to benefit himself. Now let's hear Mayegun talk about what I already know, but me saying it will be an Igbo man talking about a Yoruba man. Let's talk about Mr. Democracy and what he did to Nigeria's telecommunications system, but not just that. The amount of money I don't want to say embezzled, the amount of money he stole from Nigeria that destroyed telecommunications in Nigeria. But that's the Abiola you worship today. If that was Peter Obi, or Nnamdi Azikiwe, or Ato Eze, or Iwuanyanwu, in Ghana, Bayo Ononuga will be bribing Ghanaians to amplify how Peter Obi destroyed Nigeria's economy. It's the shame of Nigeria. Igbo this, Igbo that. I intentionally bring you this episode to start at the highest level of Bayo Ononuga's empire of distortion, to make you understand the double standards that Nigeria has when it comes to Igbos. Listen to Mayegun and the story of ITT.
Anyway, the real story of MKO Abiola that makes him as part of the criminal enterprise, right? The famous one is ITT. And the reason is just because, Nigeria, that's the story. Nigeria was supposed to have, every home was supposed to have a phone line, like you have to lay the cable everywhere. If you need a line, you can easily just tap it and that's you connected. That was the project. It was that time that they have to lay the cable, they have to lay, just like they lay the pipes for your water back in the days. So this contract was massive and it was supposed to be a partnership between the government and some foreign investors. So these foreign investors were supposed to have been facilitated by MKO Abiola. The project itself that was designed, okay, so they designed it. They presented it as the ITT project. And that's what Fela changed to International TIF. It's actually ITT project. It was meant to be telecommunication, whatever. It was massive that Nigeria lost more than $1 billion. See, back then, if you convert that dollar, if you convert that money to today's currency, you probably should be talking about, somewhere around there, $50 to $60 billion. It was like a scam. So it got approved. Nigeria paid their own side, and then they were supposed to start the connection. So they did it in 2-3 cities, and that was it. The job was done. The money was gone. So that became a scandal. And they said, well, they have not. According to the said, we have not really stopped work. It's just that we have a bit of a setback. We are going to continue the project and all that until Muritala and the rest of them, I'm just saying, this is how the conspiracy against Nigeria have always been. Then when it now comes to, in fact, it was even reported that some of the coups that took place in Nigeria, that Abiola also sponsored, like funded. Do you understand that now? They said most of them come from, number one, if there's going to be any investigation against any of his interests, or his interest is pretty much like not in picture in any of that government, then the famous one, the coup that was famously sponsored by MKO Abiola, was that of Babangida against Buhari. In fact, it was the one that solidified the supposed relationship between MKO Abiola and the Khaki Boys. It was with the Muritalas. It was with the, I think that's why they said Obasanjo developed the hatred for him. See, Obasanjo don't like him. Yeah, it's pretty much like, a bloody civilian, this or that. So Obasanjo don't like Abiola simply because of what was quoted as his deeper involvement in the military activities in Nigeria. When we talk about like politicizing the military, blah, 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 he benefited immensely from it. It was like a robbery. So anyway, in all of this, right, like I said, the reason why if you grew up in the 80s, 90s, it is going to be very tough for you, okay, to cancel MKO Abiola. Whenever you are looking at the list of those who destroyed Nigeria, it's going to be hard. But it's neck deep in it. We don't know what changed. Abiola was widely sort of accepted. Let's be honest. He had this national acceptance. He's given money to a lot of organizations, a lot of people. You know what I mean? So that is what worked against him, though. His friends felt like he's such a very powerful guy, very influential guy within their rank, okay, that it will be too dangerous to allow him access power. This you can call them conspiracies, but there are books written on all these things I'm saying to you. There are books to back some of this stuff, right?
Okay, now let me throw in this conspiracy theory. And I'm throwing it in based on the fact that there's no smoke without fire. Before I do so, let me make it clear that MKO Abiola was never anywhere in the world indicted on drug charges. But there are fingers that point at him. Why do I say that? Because based on silly stereotypes and agenda against Igbos, all over social media, you hear these stories about Igbos and drug dealing and all that. I'm just trying to say that if we're going to point fingers, let's start pointing the fingers at the highest level. Now let's talk about, or let Mayegun talk about speculations about MKO Abiola and cover-ups of international drug rings. Mainly on that drug ring, he was allegedly covering up is Bola Ahmed Tinubu's drug link. So if you want to talk about crime, let's talk about Igbo crimes. But show me a significant Igbo name involved. But I will show you 2 significant Yoruba names involved. But you're mum on them. You don't want to talk about them. I want to talk about them.
What now makes MKO Abiola a criminal? There are established, again, there are established, using this same, established fact as well, using this same influence to cover up some of what was called the international drug investigation. That one was the one that actually got many guys crazy. Are you saying that MKO Abiola is a drug dealer? There is an evidence towards that. But it wasn't specifically mentioned. That is, it wasn't specifically mentioned as MKO Abiola like Tinubu is mentioned, right, in his own heroin deal. There were pointers to who the investigation was pointing at too. I could have brought some of them here. Okay. But yeah, if that interview sort of riled you, the ideal thing is probably it is time for you to go and read more about some of those people they told you were heroes in Nigeria or are heroes past. Get hero way pass. Go take a look at them. And you realize that those they call heroes to you, they are villains, part and parcel of what you are suffering today. I know it could be very hard for you to take in. To spoil his name, Baba, nobody needs to spoil the name of the criminals in charge of Nigeria. Now they try to deodorize the stench. There are some of you who are going to, in case if you don't know this, so in 20 years' time, in 30 years' time, there are those who are going to tell there are those who are going to tell our children that Tinubu is a hero. All this heroin trafficking, forfeiting money, they were just statements to tarnish his image. They are going to name a monument after him. They are going to name maybe they'll do things to make him hero. And that's a kleptomaniac druggie. There are those who are already fighting. Don't call him a drug dealer. Stop calling him a druggie. What should I call him?
Thank you, Mayegun. Thank you so much. And thank you, Fela Kuti. These stories are better told coming from Yoruba people than they are told coming from me, an Igbo person, regardless of how true my story may be. My video today is not about telling you that Igbos are not involved in criminal activities. My story today is telling you that we need to stop this finger pointing of tribes in Nigeria where we run into our bigoted stereotypes just to destroy one side in favor of an equally bad side. Nigeria is a country that can work, But it can only work if all Nigerians decide to be honest about the stories we tell about Nigeria and stop amplifying brainwashed stories that our parents told us to benefit whatever criminal activities they are involved in or prejudiced activities they are involved in. One of the biggest problems in Africa is respect for elders. Elders have misled Nigeria. Nigeria is not going to become a better place until young Nigerians start to dispute the lies that the elders have told over the last 60 years. I'm glad you took time, if you did, to watch this to the end. It is an episode that I feel should go down as a valuable tool in learning the history of crime and crime distortion in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Fred Monko coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Island TV. And until next time, good night and God bless.
We are thrilled to share some exciting news with you. We've been working tirelessly behind the scenes to make a positive impact in our community. Our commitment to serving others hasn't wavered, and we are proud to showcase one of our latest projects. We are embarking on a new initiative to construct a borehole for treasure-based academy in Abia, state and the community. This project aims to provide a reliable source of clean water for the students, enhancing their health, hygiene, and overall learning experience. Education and access to basic necessities are fundamental rights, and we are dedicated to supporting initiatives that promote these values. This borehole project is just one of many endeavors we've undertaken to make a difference. Our foundation is passionate about empowering communities and fostering growth. We are grateful for the opportunity. More updates on our project and look forward to sharing. If you'd like to stay updated on our work, we invite you to follow us on our social media handles, Facebook and Instagram, at Munacha Charity Support Foundation. You can also reach out to us via these platforms, or through email if you have any questions, or would like to learn more about our initiatives. The students expressed their heartfelt gratitude to our founder and everyone who has supported this project. We are grateful for their kind words and appreciation. In the same vein, we'd like to extend our gratitude to all our supporters and partners who have been instrumental in our journey. Your contributions, financial and otherwise.
Tonight I think of my home, the home where I was born. I think of my family and the poor farmhouse we had. There in my home, we had no sophistication. We had no timepiece, the cockcrow and the sun, all we had. Rise early at sunup, we'd go to the farms, drive the monkeys away from the maize farms, and the birds away from the rice farms. Come back home at sundown, sometimes a little later. Women get busy on pounded yam, and we all eat together. to Lagos.